What's up, gamers? You have TigerChainsaw. In today's game review, I am super stoked to be reviewing Syphon Filter 2. This is my childhood copy of it, and I've got a ton of nostalgia, a ton of memories playing this game. But the way that I got into the series is kind of a unique one. So back in the 90s, Pizza Hut would give out demo discs, and on a demo disc that I received from Pizza Hut was a demo of Syphon Filter 2. And in this demo, you would play a train scene, and I must have played this for 10 straight hours. It was crazy how much I would play that demo. It was just so much fun for me, and I vividly remember playing the demo and then watching Pokemon on the other TV that we had. And so I've got a lot of great memories, and I'm really excited to review Syphon Filter 2 today. And it just makes me miss that I had that attention span at one point where I could just do the same thing over and over and over for the next 5 hours, which was play that train demo. Today, I don't have that attention span, but back then, those were the good old days. So anyway, I'm gonna be reviewing my childhood copy of Syphon Filter 2. Now, if you are a first-time viewer, or if you just haven't yet, go ahead and hit that sub button because I've got tons of game reviews on this channel, ranging from the 80s, the 90s, the early 2000s, all the way up to the PS5. So go ahead and hit that sub button because you can catch all of those game reviews and it really helps my channel grow. All right, let's hop back onto that train and see if Syphon Filter 2 is any good. The original Syphon Filter hit the shelves in 1999 for the PS1 to commercial success. Featuring a mix of stealth elements and action, Gabe Logan trotted the world trying to save it from the virus known as Syphon Filter. In 2000, Ediac and 989 Studios were at it again just a year later and released the follow-up, Syphon Filter 2. Now I have to say that this game reminds me of a Michael Scott production, but a little bit more on that in just a little bit. Let's go ahead and get started with the plot of Syphon Filter 2, but be warned, spoilers are ahead. Sequels usually take place after a certain amount of time has passed from their former games, but not Syphon Filter 2. The second game in the series takes place only hours after the first game ends. And you know what? I really dug that. It was nice to see an immediate continuation of the story. At the conclusion of the first game, our agent Gabe Logan defeated terrorist Romer and agency director Markison, who had secretly teamed up to work on a deadly virus called Syphon Filter. Now, Gabe's partner Lian had been injected with the virus and was starting to feel the effects of it. Together, the two of them are now portrayed as enemies of the agency by the media as well as the agency. Now marked as terrorists, they must escape the corrupt agency and misinformed police units that are after them. So to start, Gabe is flying back on a private cargo plane carrying Farmcom's data disks that hold the company's secrets and proof of their connection to the Syphon Filter. The agency shoots the plane down as Gabe and the other agents on his side parachute onto the Rocky Mountains. Gabe and the others work together to get off the mountains as the agency has quarantined them off and plans to gas the mountains to destroy any living evidence. Meanwhile, Lian has been captured and is being held in a detention center for terrorists. She manages to escape in a helicopter and meets up with Gabe to come up with a plan. Gabe and Lian team up with a third agent who is still loyal to their cause, named Teresa. With the help of Teresa, Gabe breaks into the same expo center from the first game to look for more data disks. With only half of the info on the disk, they discover that a Russian director named Yuri has the other data. Lian and Yuri know each other, so Lian heads to Moscow to meet up with him. Lian is able to track down Yuri only to discover that he is an imposter sent to find the other half of the data disk. He reveals to her that the real Yuri is imprisoned and set to be executed soon. Lian then rescues the real Yuri, but the virus has severely taken a toll on her body and she collapses from it. With death on the doorstep of Lian, Gabe decides to make a deal with the agency. In exchange for the data disk that Gabe has collected, he wants a vaccine for her. The agency double-crosses Gabe, but he is able to steal a vaccine in the process. Teresa then meets up with Gabe and helps him track down the new agency director, Lyle Stevens, and kills him. Together, they head for the rooftop where Teresa's helicopter is waiting for them. When they arrive on the roof, they find Agent Chance waiting for them. He was one of the original agents with Gabe on top of the Rocky Mountains. He betrays Gabe and kills Teresa. Wearing tons of body armor, Chance is protected against any ammo. Gabe eventually finds a heavy shotgun and is able to knock Chance into the blades of the helicopter with the force of the shotgun shells. In the post-credits, Gabe is able to give Lian the vaccine, and the existence of the agency has now gone public. But a few high members of the agency meet and reveal that they still have plans for Gabe. Gamers, are you fans of the TV show The Office, particularly Michael Scott Productions? If you know what I'm talking about, The Office is a TV show and the main character is Michael Scott, who is a nincompoop. That's how I would describe him. But he has this fantasy of producing this action movie with his company, Michael Scott Productions. The movie that he makes and the script that he writes is so over the top, it is so hilariously bad, but I say all that because Syphon Filter 2 really reminds me of a potential movie that was made by Michael Scott. Let me get into what I mean. The opening sequence of Syphon Filter 2 is so over the top, and it made me laugh out loud with the animation. And honestly, that made me get off to a great start with my playthrough. Gabe somersaults on the ground, shooting terrorists, and all of their deaths are super exaggerated. The sequence is a victim of its time, but it is hilarious. Now, the gameplay is almost identical to the first game, but I found the use of the auto-aim feature far less, as it just wasn't as useful this time around. The difficulty in Syphon Filter 2 was evenly played out. There was no level that was extremely hard while the rest were easy. It was pretty much an even difficulty throughout the entire experience. As opposed to the first Syphon Filter, I felt that the first few levels were super easy, but the last ones were super difficult. I don't think there's a right or a wrong way to program a game, but it was just something that I noticed. I will say the one level that I did struggle on in Syphon Filter 2 was the bridge level where you have to defuse all the bombs in less than 2 minutes. I had forgotten that you needed to take out a commanding officer first before taking care of the bombs. When you do that, the time limit goes away, making it 100 times easier. Anyway, one of the big pluses in Syphon Filter 2 was the ability to play as Lian throughout almost half of the game. She doesn't do anything differently than Gabe, but with her inclusion, she felt much more part of the team instead of just a voice in your ear giving you hints and tips like she did in the first game. The combat is just as fun as it was in the original. The night vision was one of my favorite sections of levels as I became a silent assassin in the dark. Syphon Filter 2 makes good use of the surrounding environments, just like the first one. I found myself climbing more poles and more walls to get around. The environments also provide some unique weapons, like when I was in the tunnel trapped by a swarm of terrorists. Gabe took a fuel hose from a truck and set it on fire as I sprayed hordes of terrorists into a ball of fire. That was tons of fun. As much as I loved the train sequence from the demo, my favorite portion of Syphon Filter 2 was the dance club in Russia. You had to track down Yuri, playing as Lian. When you enter the dance club, you are met with a ridiculous cutscene of Yuri and the others dancing. It was just as over the top as the intro to the game, with people spinning on the dance floor and busting moves. I almost had a seizure fighting through some of the rooms in the club, and there's a strobe light that does not stop unless you shoot it. But the entire sequence and level was a blast to play through. Going from the fun dance club, you go to a dark prison where women are beaten, thrown off the railings, and shot to death. It was a stark contrast to what I had played, and it gives you an idea of the variety that you'll see in Syphon Filter 2. Something that really frustrated me during my playthrough was an item called the Camera Scrambler. You collect it from a locker, but it's not really mentioned, and honestly, I kind of forgot about it. You need to use it on cameras to sneak around the clinic, but even with it equipped and pointing at the cameras, I didn't know how to use it, which led to me ringing the alarm numerous times and failing the mission. Eventually, I had to look up how to use it, and that's just no fun. It was a bit of a surprise to see Teresa murdered. I thought she'd make it out, but by chance, she died. LOL, get it? Chance, the agent, killed her? All right, I'll stop. Anyway, speaking of Chance, I know he was wearing armor to protect him from ammo, but I had saved up 10 rounds of the M79, which was essentially a rocket launcher that sends enemies flying 20 feet into the air. I unloaded all 10 rounds of him and nothing happened. He just kept coming, so him being able to survive that after using that weapon throughout the game as the ultimate power gun was a little bit surprising. Obviously, the programmers made it so you had to use the shotgun onto him to knock him back into the helicopter blades. Overall, despite my small complaints in Syphon Filter 2, you're still going to get wonderful missions filled with stealth action and lots of gunfire fights. And during the fighting, you're going to have access to tons of different weapons, including, yes, the return of the air taser, which I used a ton. Syphon Filter 2 doesn't change up the gameplay formula of Syphon Filter, it just improves it in pretty much every way. But I will say that Gabe's voice acting still sucks. Syphon Filter 2 builds upon the foundation that Syphon Filter laid out, creating a wonderful game experience. There's honestly not a ton to complain about. My small complaints were more geared toward a certain item or a certain sequence in a mission. The gameplay is still stellar all around. The last thing I want to talk about is that Syphon Filter 2 does come with multiplayer for you and a friend to shoot each other in different arenas that are cities. When I got this game, my sisters were out of the house by then, so I remember I just spent hours exploring the arenas by myself and blowing up the dummy player. I wonder what it's like to have friends. Syphon Filter 2 is so similar to the original. If they made just one game and packed it into 3 discs, I think it would have worked for the PS1, especially since the second game takes place hours after the first. The second game has more action and a few more gadgets to use. It also came with multiplayer and the inclusion of playing as Lian, which was a huge plus. Syphon Filter 2 scores a 9.2 out of 10, slightly edging out the original. Either way, both games are masterpieces on the PS1. Gamers, that was my review of Syphon Filter 2 from the year 2000 on the PS1. What are your thoughts on the sequel? Do you like the original better, or do you like the sequel? And did you ever play that multiplayer? I'd love to know your thoughts in the comments below. So type away a comment, and while you're there, don't forget to like this video and of course subscribe to my channel because I've got tons of content on it. Lots of game reviews ranging from the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, and yes, the PS5. And I'm also going to be reviewing more of the Syphon Filter series, and you don't want to miss that. Now, coming up next is my original review of the first Syphon Filter, so if you missed that, that's going to be coming up next, so go ahead and catch that after this video. Gamers, thanks for watching, and make sure you play a video game today.